Hi, my name is Bones Rodriguez, and I have an idea to share with you. It might seem that there are a lot of differences between the rich, the poor, and the middle class, but what if I told you that there was only one idea that the rich use that the other two do not that makes all the difference? It's so simple but so important that when I finally understood it, it changed my life forever. I'm going to open your eyes and show you exactly what I mean, and you'll see why the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class are getting squeezed out. It's not about what they do, but what they buy. I want to make this as simple as I can, but to start, I want to give you a few definitions of four important words. When I first heard these, I thought I knew them, but it turns out I was wrong. The words are income, which means money you bring in, expenses, which means money you spend. These two words are used by the rich, the poor, and the middle class, but it's these next two that I thought I knew but blew my mind. Liabilities, which means something that costs you, and finally, the biggie, assets, which I'm going to define as something that pays you. Before, I thought an asset was something you own, like a house, a car, or something expensive. But the rich have a different definition of assets, and this is the one we'll be working with. Something that pays you. Usually, people call their house an asset, and if you ask an accountant, they'll tell you it is. But if you use these definitions, it can also be a liability, right? A house you own but live in costs you money, so it's a liability. But a house that you rent to other people and make money from is an asset. So, a quick review. Income is money you make, expenses is money you spend, liabilities cost you money, and assets pay you money. So, I mentioned that there was a simple idea that separated the rich, the poor, and the middle class, and it's all wrapped up in what they do with their money when they get paid. The poor take their money and buy stuff. They buy shoes and ringtones and Mountain Dew and tchotchkes and Blu-rays and clothes and TV and games and a bunch of stuff that they found for cheap. Maybe at a flea market, a garage sale, the dollar store, or Walmart. Their houses are cluttered with junk, but it was all just $1 or little expensive thingies. Their cars are full of junk, their garages, etc. They take their money from their income and spend it through their expenses each month, right out the door as fast as it comes in. It's easy to fall into this trap because everywhere we look there are things to buy. It makes the world go round, and the problem is that after years of working, they have nothing to show for it because all those little thingies add up. I was born with this idea, and for a long time, that's what I thought you should do with money. Spend it. I had heard of saving, but even then, I was just saving to buy something big that I couldn't afford right now. The problem is that the poor never let their money create more money. This isn't a character flaw, and it's not wrong, it's just that it keeps the poor on a terrible cycle that is very hard to escape from. You have to be willing to learn and change. I was willing, and I learned that creating wealth is not a big secret, it's a recipe. The only reason someone doesn't create wealth is because they don't know the recipe, don't want to know the recipe, or never use the recipe. I have never baked cupcakes because I never learned, I never had the recipe, and I never tried to bake them. It's not enough to get the recipe, you actually have to cook. So let's talk about the middle class now. Some people in the middle class think they are rich because they might make a good salary at a good job. Maybe they make a six-figure income, but what they buy with that money is what keeps them stuck in the middle class. Instead of buying little inexpensive thingies, the middle class buy liabilities. Remember, I said that a liability is something that costs you. Well, the middle class buy things like big houses and nice cars and vacations and pay for them on a credit card that they pay for every month. Each month is a new thing, but it just adds a little bit to the monthly bills or expenses. For example, let's say someone in the middle class makes $15,000 a month. They pay their monthly expenses like the mortgage or rent on a fancy apartment, and food and lifestyle with $7,000, but then a car costs them $7,000 down and a few hundred a month, then a watch that costs a little bit more per month, a vacation that costs a little bit more per month, etc., until they are living on the credit cards that they pay a small part of every month. After a while, their monthly debts catch up to their monthly income, and then they are trapped with what I've heard called golden shackles. They keep buying liabilities that cost them every month, and then they are trapped by the very things they bought to make them happy. Now they're stressed out because they have to make more money next year for the kids' schools or the next vacation or whatever, and they put those liabilities on credit. The poor and the middle class get trapped because they also get into a situation where they only make money by trading their time for it. Either their body or their knowledge get traded for the money they make, and there are only 24 hours in a day. Whether you make $10 an hour or $1,000 an hour, you still have to trade that hour for it. A fast food worker still has to serve food, a dentist still has to see patients. This is when their second job comes in. It's a short-term band-aid to a long-term problem because, like I said before, there are only so many hours in the day. Often these people end up being workaholics, waking up just to go to work and pay bills. And before I continue, I want you to know that you can make a lot of money but still be a poor person because of how you spend it. But here's the critical difference for the wealthy. Instead of buying stuff and liabilities with their money, the wealthy buy assets. Again, an asset is something that pays you. Now this blew my mind when I first heard it because I had no idea you could even do that. Buy something that pays you? It made no sense at first, so I chose to keep learning. Here's what I found out. The wealthy buy assets. These assets pay them money, which they use to buy more assets, which makes them more money. The assets make them money instead of their time. Here are a couple of assets you might have heard of. Stocks, bonds, real estate. Now when I heard this, I said, oh, investing. Of course, the rich buy investments. Well, duh. And the person who taught me this asked me, well, what is an investment? And I said, well, it's something you buy, and then you hope it goes up in value, then you sell it for more money, right? And he said, no, that's trading. That's gambling, and that's what the poor and middle class think investing is. They are wrong. Then he asked me, would you like to know how rich people define investing? I said, yes. And he said, I actually already told you. They buy assets. Instead of buying something that you hope goes up in value after time goes by, the rich buy assets that pay them now. You see, they buy stocks that pay a dividend now. It pays them money every month. They buy bonds that pay them every month. They buy real estate that pays them every month. Like I said before, not a house that you live in, hoping it goes up in value in 10 years, but a house that you rent out now to people who pay you every month. But there were two other kinds of assets that I want to talk about now. The first is education. And education can be a kind of asset if you learn how to do something and you can use it to make more money. There's an old saying, if you think education is expensive, you should see how expensive ignorance is. But where the rich really make their difference is when they buy or create an asset that is a business, especially a business that can create passive income. When you can build up a business to where it pays you even after you stop working in it, then you have a true asset. It's what the real wealthy people do, and it doesn't have to be some multinational corporation. A great example of this kind of business is a simple vending machine. If you have a vending machine in a place with a lot of traffic, then people come and buy candy, and you just collect the money. Sure, you might pay for the candy and pay for someone else to restock it, but all you do is get the machine and get the money, and then buy another machine, and then get the money and buy another machine over and over. Warren Buffett did this with old pinball machines, and now he's one of the wealthiest people on the planet. He started with pinball machines, but now he buys big businesses that pay him monthly. Same recipe, different ingredients. If you, like me, feel excited now that you've learned this, and here's where you come in. Years ago, I came across these ideas when I was working a day job. I'm an actor, and you've seen me on TV now, but back then I was just working to pay the bills. I got jobs answering phones, temping, whatever, doing things just for money so I could pay bills on the liabilities and stuff that I had bought. Then someone shared these ideas with me, and I wanted a change enough that I chose to keep learning. Now things are entirely different. I spend my time doing what I want to do. I've been on TV, I've written books, and I decided to take action when I had the chance to build a passive income business online. An online asset. Kind of like an online vending machine, if that makes sense. I took some of that money I made from that asset and bought more assets in the form of education so I could learn more and take more action and build more online vending machines. I started telling people about what I had learned, but I found that you can't understand any of this stuff unless you're really looking for a solution, you're open to hearing one, and feel excited about the idea now. When I was poor, spending all my money and time on stupid stuff, I was open when someone asked me if I wanted to make some more money, if I wanted to learn how to make some more money. I answered a very hype-filled ad and was willing to research, take action, and it changed my life forever. So on the next page is a passive income business asset that I use to make money with. Now remember, the poor buy stuff, the middle class buy liabilities, and the wealthy buy assets. Preferably businesses that pay you money, then take that money and buy another asset that produces more money. That's the recipe for wealth. I really hope you learned a few things from this video and you choose to join us now on the next page. I'm Bones Rodriguez. Bye-bye.